Welcome to this week's Sports Curious podcast presented by Last Night's Game. I'm your host, Amy Butch Siegfried, and we are bringing you this week's podcast, which is the gift that keeps on giving, similar to the Jelly of the Month Club, great icebreakers around gifts that athletes give each other. And here to join me to talk about these fantastic gifts is the sports expert, my best gift giver. Do you give good gifts? My favorite brother, Scott. No.
It's an honor to have me on this podcast. We're entering the season of gift giving and people telling you what they want, and also people not telling you what they want but expecting gifts. So,
Which reminds me, you need to send me what you want for your family Secret Santa.
I'm notoriously bad at asking for gifts. So, as you
Yes,
have
you are.
known me, usually just a gift card or something.
Well, maybe there's something that just really lit your fire this year that you really just want, a new recliner.
Well, maybe one of these people we're talking about will inspire me.
Maybe so. Maybe. Am I going to have an answer at the end of this? Is this a teaser to wait till the end?
Stay tuned for anyone who wants to get me gifts.
Stay tuned. I just want a Taylor Swift sweatshirt from the Last Night's Game store.
Done.
With that, let's dive into these gifts that athletes give each other. Now, obviously, on this list, there are some really high-end, extreme things that most of us would not buy for our family or friends. And let's be honest, people who, in those car commercials, people who buy cars for their spouse without asking, it seems a bit insane to me. I mean, I've never been known to purchase a car without talking to someone about it.
What are the odds your spouse would get the car right? Is one of the stressful things about that. Not your spouse in particular, but everybody's. I don't want to get anybody in trouble.
He's probably listening. But I'll take a Lamborghini. It's fine.
Okay. Universal Lamborghinis.
So, all these stories. Talk to me about your favorite gift. And you and I are tied on this one because it's so good. Talk to me about your favorite gift that you've ever heard an athlete give to another.
And this is probably the best, most creative one that we've really encountered throughout the years. Trevor Siemian, who is a perennial backup quarterback, currently on the Jets, but on a previous team, he purchased parkas for his linemen that dispense Skittles. And I think by far that's the best thing. Not in directly into their mouth like one of those beer helmets.
Yes, that'd be epic.
No, unfortunately not. It was just a button on the chest that you push, and Skittles arrived in the coat pocket.
I mean,
so
that is...
I think, I don't know if it gets any better than that. We're starting out probably on the highest level here, but
we peaked,
yes.
You know how you always find like money and things in your pockets? Mm-hmm. Imagine washing your parka and being like, oh crap, I left a whole bag of Skittles in it.
A bag of Skittles. Get it out of the dryer and they're all melted in your pocket.
Trevor, I'm going to need a new coat.
I'm kind of shocked that Marshawn Lynch didn't think of this one, given his infatuation with eating Skittles. So I guess Trevor one-upped Marshawn on this one.
And if I remember correctly, these are fur-lined too. This is when he played in Denver, right? And so they were fur-lined. So not only were they food, but they were functional.
Food and functional. What else could you want out of a winter coat?
I mean, things I never knew I needed out of a winter coat.
Trevor, if you hear this, we'll take one for the holidays.
Yeah, we'd be happy to advertise that for you. I mean, now Trevor is on the Jets. I think you already mentioned that.
Yes.
Does he's getting some playing time, or is slated to get some playing time with Aaron Rodgers out? And
at this point, the Jets will take anyone that can perhaps get them some touchdowns. So let's not rule that out.
Okay. It didn't work out for Zach Wilson. So no. Maybe Trevor's coming back.
Maybe Zach Wilson just needed a Skittle jacket.
Maybe that's all he needed, just a little sugar rush. Well, I will tell you that one of my favorite ones on this list, beyond the Skittle jacket, because that trumps kind of everything, is Peyton Manning, which I love. I've got two like soft, happy ones. Peyton Manning used to write handwritten notes to athletes and sports figures that he admired during the off season and would compliment them on if it was a retirement, so on and so forth, which I think is really cool to be able to be this phenomenal quarterback and write letters. And he did it across sports. It wasn't just football players. I think that's a really cool, the art of a handwritten note is a lost art these days. So to be able to receive a nice handwritten note, really applauding you for something great, an accomplishment, a retirement, whatever that might be, I think is pretty cool.
And it doesn't cost millions of dollars like some of these other gifts. So the thought really goes into it. And I think, like you said, it was random athletes from different sports that years later would come out and say, "Yeah, I got this letter from Peyton Manning."
I just think it's super cool. Have you watched the Beckham documentary yet?
I watched the first episode with the family over
That's right.
Thanksgiving, and I haven't gotten back into it. Did Beckham get one from him?
I think it was episode 4. He had all these videos from
Mhm.
Messi and a couple other players saying, "Hey, congratulations on your retirement." Messi said in his, like, "Call me," and look how that worked out. But it's
Now,
kind of cool to think.
now he's Messi's boss.
Now he's Messi's boss, which is really, really cool. I think he said that at the day after he retired from, I think was it Paris Saint-Germain was his last team.
Yes.
He flew to Miami to start all the work on the Miami team. And obviously, as we know, Leo Messi plays for um, Inter Miami FC, which is David Beckham's team. Their colors are pink, light pink, and black. And if I remember correctly, we're hearing that Messi gave out some pink and black Beats by Dre to some folks.
Yep, he was trying to win his team over on and off the field, scoring game-winning free kicks almost every game, I think. And then, to the surprise of his new teammates, he gifted them all pink and black Beats by Dre headphones. So he's trying to integrate himself into the Miami locker room, and I think he's doing a pretty good job.
Now, if I remember correctly, he received some of the money. He's obviously received his salary, but then he has a partnership with MLS where he may be able to own a team when he's done. He has a partnership with, I want to say it's Adidas. I could be wrong. Maybe it's Nike. But then I believe he also has a deal with Apple, which means the headphones probably came from Apple, possibly.
Most likely, but at least he went through the effort to have somebody get those for him.
True. The gift that keeps on giving, right? And if he's annoying, you just put them on and you don't have to listen to him.
There you go.
They saved my marriage during COVID.
That's a great gift idea.
Yeah, well, they saved my marriage during COVID, so, sharing an office. So I'm just saying, if you find him annoying, just put them. Now, we have some players who went into their own pockets for different gifts. One I love are athletes who've paid off their parents' mortgages or purchased them a house. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Russell Wilson, both bought their parents a house. Pavin Smith used his signing bonus from the Diamondbacks to pay off his parents' mortgage. That's a cool thing that I think every kid would like to do for their parents. Maybe not every kid, but most would like to do as a thank you to their parents.
And a lot of these guys can go blow their money on other things, cars, jewelry, expensive dinners. So for them to take the time and use their own funds to probably repay their parents who drove them to practice and to games every weekend nonstop, it shows there's a nice side to them.
Yeah, I mean, really, when you think about it, how expensive has your life been if you made it to be a professional athlete? The lessons, the club teams, the travel, all the things.
Yeah, it certainly adds up for those parents. So well deserved. And shout out to those guys that have done that and the numerous ones we didn't get a chance to mention.
Yeah. You know what I really think about our next one? We talk about these athletes who have worked really hard to make it, and maybe they're stuck in the minor leagues. Maybe they're never going to make it any higher. And Max Scherzer, who's the pitcher for the Texas Rangers, just won a World Series, but when he was with the Mets, he went down to the Binghamton, Rumble Ponies. Say that 10 times fast. And to rehab from an injury, as players tend to do. And he really left a mark there, which I thought was really cool.
He did. I mean, he's made a ton of money throughout his career. And even though he was only down for, maybe a few days, these minor league guys who make barely above average salaries for, a typical adult don't get these luxurious things. So he went down there, bought them all Apple AirPods, and really splurged with a $7,000 lobster and filet mignon dinner to thank them for just having him in the clubhouse and letting him be a part of it. So I'm sure that's probably the highlight of many of these guys' careers.
Yeah, that's pretty cool and fun. Do you know that when I was with the Diamondbacks, Max was there. Was he there when you were in spring training too?
Yes, I used to go down when I worked for them. I would go down behind home plate and watch him pitch, and just it's amazing that anybody could hit any of his pitches when you see it live.
Yeah. And like such a nice guy. And I was telling the tiny human yesterday or the other day when we were watching the World Series, like that guy actually has two different color eyes. And I can't remember the scientific name for it, but he has two different colored eyes and significantly different. It's not like one's hazel and one's lightly green.
I think it's
It's kind of cool.
blue and brown.
I believe so. So it's cool to see these guys who just realize their star power and put it to good use. And that leads me into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line, who instead of spending money on each other, pooled their money to give special bonuses to staff members who might get overlooked. And these people are the ones who make sure that their house is in order every single day, like the kitchen staff, the trainers, the equipment team. And I know that obviously players tip them out at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
That's really how these people make their money, is these tips. But it's cool to see that they said, you know what, screw it, we're not gonna give gifts to each other. We're gonna pay it forward.
And you can, having worked for a baseball team, you can attest to the crazy hours that these people put in behind the scenes that never get any love at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, without them, there's no team. So especially like
Absolutely.
the kitchen staff. Think of the kitchen staff for an NFL team.
Oh my gosh!
Feeding all
Imagine
those
how.
linemen, and I can't even imagine how much work they put into it.
Well, and how
So
big a big an NFL roster is too.
yeah, baseball's only what, 25.
Mm-hmm.
NBA is only 12 or 13. So yeah, these people absolutely earned that bonus.
It was pretty cool to watch the World Series this year and to see the guys who work in the clubhouse were out on the third base line when they announced the players. And I thought that was really cool for game one that they did that. And I don't remember watching the beginning of the other games if it happened, but it was just neat to see. And some of those people that you and I knew are still there.
Yeah, I mean, once you get in that life, I think it's tough to get out.
Yeah. And you hope they win a World Series because the bonuses are significant if you're in that place.
And many teams in the playoffs, they'll get together and vote to give their playoff share revenue and pull it together to give to the staff as well. So
That's
there's
cool.
a lot of different ways. Baseball teams tend to do it more. I think they must make a lot more money in the playoffs.
Maybe so.
But yeah, so they take care of them as well. Probably
That's
because
cool.
the Buccaneers did it.
Yeah, maybe so. The Buccaneers started a trend.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a trend that I think is interesting. We talked about the offensive line for the Bucks paying it forward, but quarterbacks and running backs tend to take good care of their offensive line because they're the guys who save their butts from being run over by the defense. And so they tend to we've got some pretty significant gifts on this list from quarterbacks and running backs.
Yeah, the quarterbacks need to keep those big guys in front of them healthy and happy
And happy. Yep.
to make sure that they're going to block for them. So I know that when Russell Wilson was on the Seahawks, he kind of gave them a gift that keeps on giving them $12,000 in Amazon stock, which, you know, might not be a flashy car or a Skittle jacket, but I'm sure that's paying off way more than he could ever really, you know, intend.
Absolutely. Well, you might as well put that, what was it, a $140 million contract? Might as well buy. How many people are on the offensive line? It's a terrible
I
question for me
mean,
to ask.
so you got the center, guard, and tackle on each side. So I'm going to say 5.
Okay.
I didn't know there was going to be math, but
Sorry to ask those math questions. You know me, I'm not very good with plays and how many people go where.
I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what he's going to do for his linemen this year with the Broncos after he signed that massive, like $250 million deal. So they'll probably get something a little bit nicer, maybe $20,000 worth of stock.
That would be lovely. I hope so for the Broncos offensive line. I hope that comes your way. We've had when Ezekiel Elliott was with the Cowboys, he gifted his linemen John Deere UTVs. Tom Brady doled out new Audi A7s, which is not a cheap purchase in the least bit.
No, and hopefully maybe a couple of free copies of the TB12 book,
Maybe a meal plan.
a nice meal plan to keep them fit and
Mm-hmm.
trim in the off season.
Mm-hmm. Where was I at recently that I text you? Oh, I was at the Encore in Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
and their juice bar is TB12 themed. In case you guys are wondering.
I'll have to make a trip down there. I've actually heard the food's good and the shakes are good. So
Okay, so maybe when we're there for the Fountain Blue opening, we'll have to wander down to the Encore to check it out. Build a base off of a TB12 protein shake.
I think that's what he's intending. Yeah.
Now, I have two last ones that are, we'll call them beverage related, right? We've already tackled Skittles, but the one I love, and I'll let you take the other one. The one I love is Joe Flacco, who was a backup quarterback at the time. I believe you mentioned that he's playing, just signed with the Browns.
Yeah. He's kind of come out of, he wasn't even retired. He just wasn't playing, but Browns have been devastated by injury at the quarterback position. So it looks like he might even be playing in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully the Browns, can get some cool gifts like the one you're about to mention.
Yeah, well, he bought his lineman when he was a backup quarterback. So imagine what he's going to pull out when he's an actual quarterback. He bought his lineman $2,000 slushy machines, which I think is quite cool. They're a pain in the you-know-what to clean. But, I mean, when are you ever going to get a $2,000 slushy machine for the holidays?
I mean, it's kind of a dream come true. I wonder if he included like free cleaning with that as well for a year or something, because I don't want to clean out a slushy machine.
No, I don't either. That's why I don't have a margarita machine. That and I don't really want slushy margaritas, but Oh, Amber Alert. Excuse me.
Amber Alert. Uh-oh.
Yep, sorry. There we go. You had smoke alarm issues earlier. I've got an Amber Alert. There
Well,
you go.
hopefully they find the person they're looking for.
I hope so too. So let's lead to this last one. I don't really know how to take that from into the transition to the last one, but let's talk about Von Miller.
Von Miller, he, perennial Pro Bowler on the defense, multiple time Super Bowl champion. But he did have a soft spot for his opponents. And like many of you people out there listening, he bought people wine, his opponents wine, to thank them for their service against him, allowing him to sack their quarterback and win the Super Bowls.
Now, the story is really cool because he gifted, and this was before he went to the Rams. So this was probably when he was in the Broncos. Does that sound right?
Yes.
He gifted autographed bottle of wine, which features his signature eyewear. So he has the really like thicker horn-rimmed glasses. So it had a image of his signature eyewear and a handcrafted thank you note. Once again, going back to the thank you note to every player in the AFC West, which is where his team played. So he sent out a total of 289 bottles and notes and made sure to include players on the practice squads and the injured reserve list, which I think is really cool.
It's a lot of thought into, thanking people for allowing him to succeed. It's kind of a funny deal.
About it. Yeah, I mean, but he didn't play probably against most of these guys on the practice squads or injury reserve, but sort of like Antonio Pierce, who's the new interim head coach at the Raiders, he's saying, look, these guys work their butts off too. I want to recognize them. So, the Raiders are now having their practice squad guys on the sidelines during games. And so I think that's kind of a cool, I mean, even if you wrote thanks on every single note, it's still 289 notes.
Yes.
So
I'm hoping he continued that with the Rams and now the Bills as well. So he's gone to a few different divisions. So hopefully everybody in the AFC will get a little treat from him.
Hopefully so. Well, hopefully this gives you some ideas if you're gift giving. Maybe that a handwritten note is just as lovely as a $2,000 slushy machine and doesn't require cleaning. Now, Scott, I'm going to wrap this up by asking you, what are you going to ask your Secret Santa for this year?
Do I have to rule out the Skittle jacket?
Maybe you could put that as an honorable mention.
Okay, well, I want a handwritten note from Peyton Manning.
All right, I'll work on that. I'll get the tiny human to write you up a note from Peyton
Okay.
Manning.
Just as
I'm sure
good.
there's some AI we could somehow find Peyton Manning's handwriting and somehow get it written.
Okay, well, we'll work on that. AI, just like the Sports Illustrated writers that we just learned about.
I just heard about this. This is crazy. If you don't know, stay tuned into our Wednesday wisdom. If you don't get our email newsletters on every Wednesday morning when this podcast also comes out, make sure you tune into that because we have a little fun facts about what's happening in the world of sports. A couple of short and sweet ones, and I can almost guarantee you we'll be talking about the Mr. Chat GPT, who happens to be writing articles for Sports Illustrated.
Hardest worker in the business.
That's right.
What about you? Do you have any gifts for your Secret Santa that you'd like?
I don't know. I'd like some sleep. Is that Secret Santa worthy?
Depending on
The
if
gift that keeps on giving?
if your son's your Secret Santa, then probably not.
Probably a good point. No, sleep. I don't know. I felt like I had something and now I can't remember what it was. I don't know. You guys all here having a good time. All of us just hanging out is gift enough. A handwritten note from your dog, Miley.
Her handwriting is not very good, though.
Yeah, well, she needs to work on it. She has a couple weeks.
It
Practice.
depends on how many treats you have for her.
Well, I appreciate you joining me for this week's episode with the gifts that athletes give each other. Hopefully, you're inspired. I hope that it's a great conversation starter and icebreaker for your holiday parties because nothing is more boring than talking about the weather. So feel free to serve these right up when you're drinking wine. You have multiple opportunities to discuss wine, gifts, Skittles,
Slushies.
so slushies. So thanks, Scott. Happy holidays.
Thank you.